I wanted to do a video about something that I've been seeing passed around on Reddit and Twitter from a channel CDawgVA about his entire channel being copyright claimed. I recalled a video from the same guy, I guess a few months ago, with basically the same situation. And so I thought that maybe this was just an old video that YouTube was resurfacing to me. But as I went through the new video, I realized this was a new video because it apparently has happened again. And why I wanted to do this video is because as I watched this video, I felt worse and worse for Connor because I realized that he just got into this ridiculous situation because, and I don't blame him, I just think that most YouTubers do not understand copyright. So I wanted to walk through some of the things that I'm seeing, and I wanted to do this quick explainer video why this is happening and what other YouTubers should know so that they can avoid this issue. So the basic thing is this guy apparently has an outro for most, if not all, of his videos. And so Connor claims that he has licensed this outro from someone, I guess Pihala. He had his screenshot in the video about that. And normally, when you use someone else's copyrighted content, you're supposed to be licensing that. So what's the deal? If he's licensing that, then how can he be getting copyright claims? So my understanding is that this time around, he's getting claims from Sony for a different song. And so normally when you see that, you see, I have a license, this claim is not for the same song, and that's a sign that, there's a bad claim, that's something that should be disputed. But he said something in the video that made me realize that the actual story is a bit more complicated. So the outro that he licensed is apparently a remix of another artist's song that's being represented by Sony. And so I guess the remixer sampled some of this audio, did whatever splicing and dicing that they wanted to do, and that's the version that CDawgVA is using. Music has two copyrights. One is a copyright on the master or recording copyright. That's for a specific audio recording. And then there's a second copyright that's for the composition. And you can run afoul of either of these. When someone samples audio that they did not record, they need to get permission for use of that master recording. The difference I see between a remix and a cover is that remixes typically sample audio from someone else. Those audio samples need clearances. They need licenses of the master use rights to be able to use. But even separate from the sampling of the audio, then there is that composition copyright. And what is a composition? A composition is melody, lyrics, the things that make a song sound like a song. So if I sing with my own voice a famous song, then I am not using anyone's master recording. I'm not using anyone else's audio to my recording. But I am still infringing upon the composition because for you to recognize that song, I have to be singing according to the same melody, or I have to be singing the same lyrics. And that, I didn't create that composition. And so my use of someone else's composition also infringes on that copyright. So it seems like what's happened is that CDawgVA had this remix that he had licensed. But I want to tell you something. I don't know this remixer, and I don't know what the terms of this license were, but a remixer would need to verify that they have the permission to license, because if that remixer used someone else's audio, then they would have needed to get a license for use of that audio, and they needed to verify, does that license that they have to create this remix allow them to create other licenses for other people? If I license a composition for a cover, since I'm a cover musician, then that gives me the ability to create my own version, my own recording of this. But that doesn't necessarily give me the right to authorize anyone else to use that composition, because again, I didn't write it. I didn't write that composition, I'm just covering it. And so the question is, should CDawgVA even have been able to get a license for a remix? Did the original remixer get a license for use of the original composition or the original audio? And I'm guessing that the answer is no, because even a lot of musicians don't understand the things that I'm saying right now. And we all should know about it, especially if we're remixers, especially if we're cover musicians, but many people don't. And YouTubers who aren't involved in music and who aren't involved in intellectual property and who aren't involved in copyright, like CDawgVA, they don't understand what they're getting into. They think they're doing what they're supposed to, that they're getting a license. And then years down the road, Sony comes along and goes through every single video and claims it manually. So there is another thing that happened. So as a result of this sort of thing happening a few months ago, my understanding was that CDawgVA said, okay, then I won't use a specific audio file. I will commission someone to create a flute version of the same melody. And so he has dubbed this shitty flute version.
My shitty flute version of this song.
And so in his video where he's complaining about this process of getting these claims on even the shitty flute version of his outro, he says, why should this be possible? This doesn't sound like the original. It doesn't include the singer. It doesn't include any of the original audio. But again, remember what I said about the difference between a remix and a cover. The covers are completely new recordings of something, but remember that there's two copyrights. There's the sound recording, there's that audio recording, and then there's that composition. If you are making a cover of another song, what that means is you're using that melody so that if someone hears this cover, they should be able to recognize, hey, that's that song that you did on your own, that you recorded on your own. Even if it's a shitty flute version, even if it's not a high quality rendition of that composition, as long as it is relying upon that recognition of that composition, you need to license for that composition. I think that CDawgVA has been told different things by different people, and my issue is the legal arena for covers is very established. It's very established that if you want to perform a cover that you have to get a mechanical license for that. And I've done a video on that, but mechanical licenses, they've gone back for decades. It's an established process. I don't think that there are very many cases of people being able to say, I wanted to use your melody, but it's a parody, it's a transformation, therefore I don't need a license. I think that typically you license. Some people would bring up famous parody musicians and singers like Weird Al, but my understanding is that Weird Al, we don't have any case law for whether Weird Al is parody, whether Weird Al is fair use, because Weird Al actually does license it. So let me tell you something about fair use now. So fair use is very expensive, because to know if you have fair use on something or not, you go to court. And when you go to court, the copyright claimant, they're claiming that you're infringing on them and that you would owe them damages. And it's the judge and the jury in that case that determine whether your use is fair use. So if you haven't gone to court and a judge hasn't said your use is fair use, you don't have fair use. Now what happens is that because this is all determined in a court system, when there are previous cases that come out, we get insights more about how fair use is evolving over time. We know that parody is something that judges frequently look at and say, what counts as a parody that is fair, what counts as satire that may not be fair. And so based on using previous case laws, that's how we're able to come up with factors about fair use. And over time, these factors, I think they have been codified in the law, but the specific details and the practical ways that these fair use factors are interpreted, we always have to go back to specific court cases. So if there aren't court cases for a specific fact pattern, then we don't know. And that's essentially what's happening with a lot of these YouTube channels, is that maybe it's fair use, maybe it's not, but until someone goes to court and until a judge declares this is fair use, this is not fair use, we don't know. We can only go by cases that have been decided and see how similar or not is this to this particular case. I'll tell you, I'm a cover musician. I do covers of video game music on my other channel. People go on my videos and they ask, can I use your cover song in a project that I'm doing? Can I use it in a video that I'm doing? Can I use it? And I want to say, if I have all the permission, I would have no problem with you doing this. But I have to disclaim every time that I cannot authorize this use in another production, because I myself only own the master use rights to my recordings, because I record my parts, but I can't say anything about the composition. The composition is composed by whoever the original composer was, and they can assert that because they didn't authorize the use of this composition in, synchronized in the video, they didn't authorize the use of this composition, in this other context, they can assert their rights. This could be a content ID claim. This could be a DMCA takedown, which leads to a YouTube channel strike, by the way, copyright strike, if you get one of those. Or maybe they just ignore it, but I can't say what they're going to do. And so I think that a lot of YouTubers, they don't realize this. They're looking for music that they can use in their videos. And so they find something that they like, whether it's a remix, whether it's a cover, and they don't understand this. So I hope that, if you learn something from this, please share this with other people so that they can get informed about this, because it's extremely important that I think there are some things that are wrong and bad with YouTube's system of managing copyright and its content ID system. But I think we have a problem making the case when there are also plenty of people making videos and plenty of people saying, woe is me, and they don't have a solid case. But with CDawgVA, I don't think he's going to win the case with this outro. I think it's a straightforward case of he probably shouldn't have gotten that license from the remix person. I think he said this in a follow-up comment or follow-up tweet that he now acknowledges that he probably doesn't have a legal case. But he mentions a few other things in this video that is actually very important, that is actually very relevant. So a few things that happen as a specific result of the content ID system is the claims were manual and they didn't have a timestamp. So what that means is normally if there's a timestamp for a content ID claim, it'll say you use copyrighted material from X seconds to Y seconds of this piece. And sometimes YouTube will say, do you want to remove the audio at this time? And if you do, then you can remove that audio and then you're not infringing anyone's copyright anymore. And so since he's only using this piece during his outro, it would be extremely easy for him to remove that outro in every one of his videos and then continue making money. That's not a problem. It's not like it's being used in the middle of the video where he's going to be losing part of what he's saying. It's only used in this outro, my understanding is. But the problem is the manual claim was for the entire, it didn't specify a timeline. So he can't just mute where the manual claim is. It's covering the entire video. So that's one thing that YouTube probably should fix. And my understanding is that YouTube is going to roll a feature out very soon where manual claims have to specify the timestamps. And I believe that they're improving their tools for removing copyrighted material so that more YouTubers will have that opportunity. If they want to keep their revenue and not give it to the copyright owner, then they can say, okay, remove the audio that I was infringing upon. I think those would be great things. But then he also mentioned that he has gotten a few other claims for songs that aren't even present in the video. And here's another issue with the content ID system, I think. The content ID system allows you to dispute many things, but it doesn't give you dispute options for everything. There is no dispute option for this is the wrong song. And I think that there's some real issues with this one because if you are using a song that you don't have the rights for, but you are expecting a content ID claim from someone else, but the wrong song and the wrong claimant claims your piece, there's no way for you to tell YouTube, hey, this person is not entitled to the money. It should be this other guy for this other song. A lot of these videos that go very popular, there is often a gray area. There's often things where the YouTuber is kind of in the wrong. And so we need to be educated as a community about this so that we can ensure that going forward, people know what are the appropriate licenses? What are the appropriate copyrights? Can a remix count, or can the remixer even offer the license that they're saying that they're going to offer? I think that this is something we need to be informed about. And so please, if you know any creators who don't know this, if you learn something new from this video, as I said before, please feel free to share this. This channel is going to be more for these types of technical things where I'm seeing things from the YouTube help forums, I'm seeing things from Twitter, I'm seeing things from Reddit where there's some sort of misunderstanding in the community. And I want to address that. I'll have some videos on YouTube's demonetization for reused content because I think a lot of creators misunderstand that as well. I'll probably include a link in the description for that. I will have a video up for comment spam because I'm noticing that a lot of channels are getting terminated and YouTube doesn't really tell them why. And I think there are some patterns that we can see comment spam. So you got to watch out for those comments. I'll probably have another video soon about YouTube blocking comments on some children's channels, because there's some new developments in one of the channels that has really gotten their fans involved Special Books, Special Kids, where they found out what the comment was, and it was a comment that you could consider to be a troll comment. But what it's saying is YouTube now expects all channels to be very careful in what comments they allow on their channel, and so we're going to need to be vigilant about that. So this is Subversive Asset, signing off.